All right, great. Is this, no, it's off. This is on, right? Yes.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Welcome back from lunch. Hopefully we have you wide awake and refreshed after the break as opposed to sleepy. Um, so we have myself, Kathleen Moriarty, as one of the chairs, and Ned Smith is my co-chair who is online and running the slides from his end. And let's just go through the normal meeting material information. If you could advance the slide, please, Ned. All right, great. So this is the note well, which you should all have read the various documents associated with the note well in advance of the meeting to understand what constitutes a contribution, which is any contribution that you're making here or on lists or in GitHub, and make sure that that's in compliance with whatever you need to follow, and that you have any IPR that you disclose it. And so you should be familiar with all of this already. Next slide, please. And the code of conduct. So we will conduct ourselves as professionals, be respectful of our colleagues at all times, and interactions are about the work and making the work better, right? And not personal. So we are here to make the internet better, essentially, right? And the work and improve it. So let's just keep a good tone about it, which I think this group is very good about. Next slide, please. Do we have two note takers already?
Yeah, so we had Thomas volunteered, Mohammed volunteered, and also Mike Owensworth volunteered. So
Okay, so thank you very much to Mike, Usama, and Thomas. Much appreciated. We couldn't run the meeting without these roles, and if you haven't done those roles in the past and you're interested to start to engage in the IETF, participating in that way is a great on-ramp. You will actually meet some people through taking minutes, believe it or not. So, all right, now we'll get started. I think next slide or first, is it that's the last, right?
just some resources, and then
Okay,
I think we go to the agenda.
All right, great.
And then
And
there's a
have
note.
sections for that.
There's a note in the Zulip saying they're not hearing remote audio.
Oh,
Ned, we hear you loud and clear.
and
Okay.
then you hear things, right? So
I'm hearing. I think I'm hearing things as well.
oh, you're
I
echoing.
can hear online as well.
Yeah, so you're definitely being heard throughout the room. But
Okay.
somebody on remote is not hearing? Oh, okay, so that person will drop and rejoin, so it might be a one-off.
Okay. Sorry for that.
All right, great. So is there any agenda bashing before we begin? I did get a request that we make sure that we do a call for adoption on the co-serve document. So we will make sure that happens. We're going to hold strict to time today. We have a hugely packed agenda between this and the Friday session. So why don't we get started with the COREM presentation? And I think we're right about on track right now. And this has 20 minutes. So Yogesh, we'll hand off to you and then we'll bring up your slides.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had good lunch and you're full and fresh, awake, not sleeping. So, okay, I would like to request stay here on this slide for a minute. Basically, what is COREM? There might be few people who might be joining first time, might get connect to the context. So COREM stands for Concise Reference Integrity Manifest. Essentially, if you have seen a RATS architecture diagram, it's a bow tie diagram. On the left, top left, you have two roles, endorsers and reference value provider. They provide the supply chain endorsements and reference values to the remote attestation verifier. And this COREM is a draft which specifies the data model, internet standard for supplying endorsements and reference value to a remote attestation verifier. So with this scene setting, we start digging a little deeper. So next slide, please. Yeah. So we started this work like almost 4 years, 3.5 years back, and since then it has become extremely popular. Here are some not a complete list, but some well-known open source early adopters of the draft, starting with NVIDIA, Intel, Altera, and recently on the fourth line, I would like to highlight that one of our colleagues from AMD and our ARM colleagues have worked together enhancing the Verizon to have a Rust implementation of Corim. So the right link there is the Rust implementation of Corim, which has been worked upon, and it is a work in progress, but very active on the GitHub. Apart from the Google and AMD's, there's a new company which we just realized last week. Solid IGM is a solid state drive company which is actually taken Verizon Cochlear and is producing reference values and endorsement using Corim as the standard. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So in terms of the document, well, we really need good reviews, and thanks to Jeremy, he's on the call, and Jack from Oracle, who have read the document and provided valuable comments. But we certainly need more reviewers to the document just to be understand that we are still on the right track. And the goal from author's view, we think that the document is ready and it's good to go for working group last call. Plus additional directorate reviews, whether it is security or ART reviews or operationals review, would be certainly beneficial. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I go into a little deeper detail about what has changed since the draft 07, which we published at the IETF 122. So since then, as the document has progressed, it has quite substantially matured a bit. So the work in terms of GitHub issues and GitHub pull requests have matured and come down. And we have made a decision within the Corim design team meeting that all the announcements are frozen now. So no more new announcements, but only if somebody raises issue about the gaps in the document or certain teething issues or some completion issues, we will address that. Usama, you have a question? Yeah.
So I want you address them. So on the slide, if you go back, you had a list of adopters. And I think the point which is not clear to me is you list AMD and you also list Google, and it's a bit of, I mean, what one is a cloud provider, one is a hardware provider. So I believe that's basically the same, Google and AMD. Also in there you have Intel, and it's not clear to me that what is the interrelation between all of those? Are they not overlapping one another?
Basically, they are the ones who would be providing Corim as reference value or endorsement, supply chain information and data model to their customers. So Oracle would deploy to their partners or customers this. So there is some business relationships, how they operate individually, but I would not go deeper into this because it is like they have taken it and I'm just giving you a reference from the open source links.
Sure, but I mean, you are asking for a working group last call, and I am trying to understand what this early adopters mean. For me, it's important to understand the overlap between the two.
Sorry.
So if I can,
So-
here, I think for this, we'll eat up too much time. Oh,
Mhm.
I think we'll eat up too much
Okay.
time if we go into this. It's a very good question. He's at more than 2 implementations for sure. So why don't we have this discussion on the list, and perhaps the ecosystem correlations could be drawn up?
Yeah.
And that would just address the question very easily and provide a nice data set.
Absolutely.
Good? All right, great. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Okay, we can go back to the next slide, please. Yeah.
And it looks like, Hank, do you need to ask now or?
Oh,
It's a very simple, this is Hank, it's a very simple answer. AMD is providing Corums live with the REST API. Google is specifying with them the standard. So that's basically it.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Yeah, so I would like to just highlight few main enhancements here without going too much into detail, because obviously if one reads the draft, one can connect with these problems or these enhancements. So we have added support for integer ranges, which would allow us to compare range comparison. And then we have kind of expanded the definition, internal representation, and algorithm has been added for domain membership triple, which I'm going to go in the subsequent slides, what it means. And we've just added more clarification on the quorum entity map to have a single signer. Yeah, so next slide, please. So as I mentioned, a new code point in the measurement values map. Measurement values map is used to report measurements, which are essentially can be used, this map can be used to provide reference values or endorsements. And in that, a new code point 15 has been added to specify the integral range, which is a type choice of an integer or tagged int range. And the tagged int is tagged with a tag 564. And the range could be between a min and a max. So yeah, next slide, please. And this table just highlights how you would do the comparison. The column on the left condition is the one which is coming from the reference value, and the column on the right, the entry, is the one which is already in your database, which is known as ACS, appraisal claim set. How would you compare the two, left and right? So integers to integer, we need to be exactly equal for an outcome to true. But if it's an integer range, we check for an range inclusion before making a conclusion of truth. And similarly, if you do this comparison when it is int range to int range comparison, I would like to highlight that you would do range subsumption, meaning the left range should be fully inside the right range before you can say it's the condition matches. So these are simple rules. Next slide, please. Okay, now this one is a slightly more richer construct. What is a domain? Domain membership triple specifies domain. So what is a domain? So domain is a concept which allows you to do hierarchical representation of a composite attester in terms of its constituent environments. And why we need that in this document? Well, it is required because you would need an authoritative statement from an endorser that my composition of my endpoint is this, which comprises of a group of environments. And when the evidence come, I need to understand whether the evidence has all the right environments. So that is the purpose. So you define a term called domain identifier, and you link that to the list of environments, which is themselves can be domain identifiers, because you can have a hierarchical composition where multiple domains can aggregate into a top level domain, which typically happens in a device. So and this is used, as I mentioned earlier, this is used by a verifier to compare the reference composition coming from a supply chain with what composition has been reported in the evidence. So it's very useful concept. So next slide, please. Yeah, Osama, you have a question. Yeah.
So I have a question on this slide about composite attester. In the draft, you are defining it as a composite attester is either a composite device or
Yeah.
a layered attester. So my question is why a layered attester is a composite attester?
So layered attester is effectively, if you see the DICE model, you have a layer 0, which generates a UDS, and then it measures layer 1. And so it is a set of environments, right? So you
Right.
have 0, 1, 2, 3, n number of environments. So the layered attester is a composite because it has multiple environments. So that's how it becomes a composite attester.
So anything with multiple environments is a composite attester?
Yes, yes.
So this is not this is a rule of thumb. This is Hank. I would even go so far to say that every attester always is a composite attester, maybe just having one component. Assuming the other works very more complicated in practice, just FYI. But this is just me.
So this is on the left box, you have the actual triple, domain membership triple, which has a domain identifier which identifies the group of environments which comprise the domain. and the right is the members, which is different environments. As you can see, domain type is just one and just environment map. So we won't allow anything else but the environment map to express the domain. And what is the impact of this triple on the internal representation of these verifier internal representation, which is in the draft, is the domain ID goes into the environment map at the top, and the members go in the fourth row, which is members environment map. And the CM, the conceptual message is domain member, which has been added with this change. Yeah, next slide, please. I'm not going to go detail about this. This an algorithm looks a bit daunting, but honestly, it is not daunting. If I just explain you in a simple terms, you take all the internal representation ECTs and try to compare it with evidence or domain evidence environments, and if they match, you add the domain membership ECT inside the ACS, the appraisal context. Otherwise, you keep iterating until you have consumed all, checked all the domain ECTs, and you just proceed with all the right domain ECTs in your appraisal context. And feel free to reach out to me later if somebody wants to go dig deeper onto this algorithm. I'm happy to walk through, but not at the right time here, especially because of the time constraint. But I'm happy to discuss that. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Apart from that, while reviewing ourselves, we identified few gaps in the way we express or we write things. So we have tidied up the reference value processing explanations and fixed some normative language. Thanks to Steve Bullock from NVIDIA, he did a great job in tidying up that stuff. And we had a bit of ambiguity on instance ID because there were circular looping on instance ID at two places. So we clarified and tidied up the type of instance ID, what it can have. And the UEID definition in Corim now refers to EAT UEID, which is again a good tidy up to have. Yeah. So next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the end of my presentation. We would request more reviews to the document to improve it further. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
So-
And to
so-
date, all questions have been addressed?
Yes, we have received a few review comments while we were right in the middle of the IETF. So we will work on addressing those comments. Certainly.
Okay.
Yes, that's.
Do you want, is it ready for working group last call then? Or do you want more reviews and then working group last call? Or just more reviews during working group last call? Like, are you expecting any big changes? You have implementations, it's interoperable.
Yeah.
So I think you're asking for cleaning up the outstanding issues, and then we do working group last call, and we would welcome lots of review because it's much better to catch problems now
Sure.
than after publication. Okay, great. So that's the plan.
Any design, the team is long, so anybody has any comment on this point from Kathleen, Thomas, Hank, even
So
Ned
last,
outside the chairs?
yeah, at the last IETF meeting, there were a couple of people who volunteered to read it and provide feedback. I don't believe we've received feedback from those people. So, and I don't know if they're here today.
There were a few others, Thomas, Giri, I haven't received the feedback yet, so, okay. Okay, maybe. So we got 3 reviews right just at the start of IETF session, which is kind of, we didn't have time, as I mentioned, we didn't have time to kind of incorporate that feedback, so.
Okay, so
But we have
let
3
us
feedback,
know.
we have 3 feedback reviews received already, so.
Okay, great. So let us know as soon as all the comments have been addressed, and then we can kick off a working group last call.
Okay,
And we would like lots of reviews. Thank you.
thank you so much.
All right, so our next presenter, we're a few minutes ahead of schedule, and Hank, I'm going to ask you not to eat it up. So Hank has 10 minutes on reference interaction models.
Hi, this is Hank, and to everybody's delight, this probably will not take 10 minutes, but less. Yeah, reference interaction models. Next slide, please. So we are preparing for working group last call, and then we had a call for review. That was excellent. Usama provided a healthy amount of constructive review input. I want to say that. I think we incorporated most of it. There needs to be one last sanity check, but it was just, 3-4 weeks ago. Summer was busy with chartering an important thing, very successful. So thank you for that. Also, not only him, but all of you. And it's understandable that this is still missing the sanity check, but it's already, I would say 80% in. We have especially tackled improvement of diagrams. Osama is very good at that, and so we improved a little bit of inconsistency. Sometimes it was like a one line off, one arrow missing. That's very nice. We also elaborated on runtime remote attestation. We are not defining that. We are keeping into account that in a long-term relationship, if one attester likes one verifier a lot, then there might be multiple messages over time, and you still need the freshness indication, and you can't just do this at subscription time. So we have to reiterate that, and that is going into that is now better elaborated on the runtime remote attestation section that is new. Secondly, Giri and May issued I think a healthy set of issues. We addressed them as far as possible so that they were easy to transform into suggested changes, but we need Giri's help to address the rest. I think all of them were commented on. I think the open loose ends, so to speak, are highlighted. This takes yet another term. And I would say this is enough for this slide. Next slide, please. Sorry that I'm not clicking. I could have done the clicker thing. I have consent to do this. Just proactively saying this. So St. Thomas continued his extensive review on this document, and thank you so much. The recent thing actually was a PR. It was not a PR, but it was on the list, so even more. We had just had a GitHub, non-GitHub list discussion in the working group for the chairs. So this is great, but it's also very fresh. So this falls in the same bucket as Yogesh just said. It's in the context of the IETF meeting. All in all, we are rather optimistic to get this done in 6 to 8 weeks, unless Osama has a severe objection right now.
As you said, so I was busy with other stuff, but I just want to clarify what you said, not as the commenter or not as a reviewer, but as a note taker. So you said that you have almost 80% been resolved. Is this correct?
Sorry,
80% of my comments have been resolved. Are the
yes,
editors
the main bulk, but
okay.
You have to recheck them. What's missing? What we didn't understand? So there needs one feedback round is missing, I guess.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I believe the next step would be that you will fix the 20% and send us
No.
out on the list
We need now feedback. Everything we could fix is fixed.
Okay.
We might have not understood the rest. You must check the delta. I'm sorry, but it's a little bit more effort, but that's what we will need right now.
Okay, so just to be on the same page, you are saying that 20% is from my side to be.
There might be, and
not
this is
from your side.
my gut feeling, like 20%, we're not entirely sure that we addressed all of your
okay,
ideas,
okay.
and you have to check. You do the sanity check. If you find everything, okay.
So discussion is needed just to make sure that there's agreement
Yeah.
on that remaining 20%, and then potentially additional comments and help to reach a consensus.
Exactly. So we are entertaining the idea that we can do this in early September, and this is the plan. You always have to plan and have a deadline. I think that's a great thing, but also planning is substituting chance by error. So it might be more, but we are really trying to hit the target of the maximum 8 weeks, and then you will come back to the list and ask for WJLC. And that's basically it. This is the state of this document. It is in I found this the final steps. Any more questions?
I think that's it. Thank you, Hank. And thanks for your expediency on that. Next, we have key negotiation integrated into remote attestation with Frank. And Frank has 10 minutes.
Okay. Oh, so tall. Okay. Now it's better. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Liang Xia from Huawei. This time I bring a new draft. Actually, is some new requirements from our AIDC, use case and the public cloud use cases. So this is about how to integrate a simple key distribution or key negotiation with the current REST protocol process. And these are all the courses. Okay, next page. Oh, okay, thank you. So as I said before, the basic goal is that we want to combine the key management mechanism, which can be the key distribution or can be the key negotiation. All these two kinds of way in the current remote attestation protocol and the process. So with this kind of solution, I think we think that it can bring the lightweight integration and it can avoid the extra steps. Yeah, and it also can definitely improve the overall security of the process, and it provides by the automatically combining these two kind of things. It's also provides some flexibility and the performance enhancement. And we want to note that actually this idea is very similar or following the direction of the attested TRS. But attested TRS is more systematic and more heavyweight, because you need to combine the remote attestation and the whole TRS 1.3 protocol in one way. But here we want a more lightweighted combination, only the key management. Okay, and next page I will give the use cases why we need this. Okay, we have two use cases. The first use case is a public cloud. And in this public cloud, we have our key management service, and which is responsible for distributing the application layer keys to all the nodes in the public cloud, such as the secret key, asymmetric key, and the encrypted secret key. And of course, all this key distribution should be performed after the remote attestation. And they are the application key. So finally, they will be used by the cloud node for the file encryption or disk encryption or the LLM, large model parameters encryption. So that's why here we don't have any security protocol here. We only want the application key. So we want to do this together with the remote attestation. And the second use case is about one customer, one end user. He wants to send his personal sensitive data to the AI data center, to the TE, to help him to do the inference. And here we don't mandate, which kind of security protocol will be used. It may be TLS, maybe IPsec, maybe OHTTP. So by this reason, what we want to do is just a very minimal set of the key negotiation, end-to-end key negotiation between the end user or end user and the server in the data center. So in these use cases, we also can do the similar things, the key negotiation together with the remote attestation. So these are two use cases.
Yaron, Chef, a quick clarification to the first one. Is it attestation of the KMS, of the client, of both?
Mainly is KMS.
Mainly the KMS.
Yeah, at least in current draft, I only described the KMS. Yeah. Okay, next page. Okay, yeah, this is the first use case. I think people here are very familiar with remote attestation process. So the change to the current remote attestation protocol is that, because we need to do the key distribution among the relying party, which is KMS, and with the attester, which means the node in the network. So how to protect this key? So we need a public key pair to protect them. So you can see in the first step of this diagram, the attester provides his evidence together with one public key or one certificate to the verifier. Then the verifier can apprise the attester, and then and generate the evidence, attestation evidence, then send back this kind of thing to the relying party. The relying party, if you can check that, oh, okay, this node is okay, so he can distribute the SK, ASK, or the ESK to the attester, and by crypted by the raw public keys, right? By the public key, so it can protect the key distribution. Or another way that the attester can share his SK, ASK, or ESK to the KMS, and the KMS then help him to forward this kind of thing to other nodes. So both directions are all okay. So with kind of with this public key, actually we achieved a strong binding between the remote attestation and the key distribution. And this page is only the passport model, and we believe that the same maybe a little bit change, but the background check model is also we can also apply to the key distribution, and we will add it in the next draft. Okay. Okay, next page. This is, okay, yeah, it's similar, but this is not KMS to do the key distribution. It's currently the relying party is end user, is a client. He wants to have a connection with the data center and send his data to it. And so during the whole remote attestation process, in the very first stage, when the client send his remote attestation request to the attester, he can, take the ECDHE public key material together and send it to the attester. Then attester, following the same process of remote attestation, send his evidence to the verifier, and the verifier applies it and send back the attestation result, and then forward it to the relying party, to the client. And together with this attestation result, the attester can send back his ECDHE public key material. So with this kind of combined binding way, and the client and the attester can finish their key ECDHE key negotiation. And here we want to mention that right now, REST protocol has not defined the remote attestation request message. Maybe I think we should define as well for this use case. And okay, next page. Okay, and currently this is very initial draft, and we just propose the use case and the basic process of the whole idea. And if people think that it's a valid use case and we can address this problem, I think next stage we will extend the current REST message, whatever is CMW or EAT or any kind of the acceptor format in REST group. And yeah, this is very important. Then we will add the background check model process, and we'll do other update. So if you have any comments, we are very welcome. That's all.
Thank you. We have Thomas first.
Okay. Hi, Frank. Thank you very much. This is very interesting work. There are existing products and even open source that already implement some of these schemes. I suggest that you get in touch with the guys, especially the confidential container people who have a key broker service and key broker protocol that does exactly one of the two things that you were mentioning there, to get feedback, but also to tell them, that they're very receptive to standardization, right? So they were pioneers here, and now they're trying to say, okay, let's move on to something that is standardized if it exists. So I think if you can cross-pollinate with them, especially, it would be great, because also that provides implementation experience and all of that into your story and makes it more convincing and solid. But that's good. Another question I have is whether this work would remain as an architectural work, high-level description, or would you go into the formats? Because then, it can become very chunky. So that might be, that you have in high-level description, and you go into the details when you specify the exact protocols in other documents.
No, I think our current goal is that we want to define the final format, the complete solution in one draft.
Okay.
But if it's too complex, maybe we can have another solution draft. This is architectural one. It's of course, let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you for your information about the existing implementation. So maybe you can help me to introduce to them. Thank you.
I can introduce you to the community.
Yeah, thank you. That's very good. Yeah.
Okay, so next we have David Black, who I believe is remote. And he also made a comment in the chat on the SPDM protocol from DMTF. That might be what he's
Am I-
going
That's
about.
So am I allowed to respond as an author to the comments before we go to David? Can I?
Yes.
Okay.
that's okay.
Thank you. So one of the confusions that we have is, other than the formats, how much of the protocol work falls in the charter of REDS? So that's one of the things that we have in mind, and we would like some clarification. So we would like some clarification on the charter, how much of the protocol work itself is in the charter of REDS, to see how much we can go forward with this other than the formats up to the protocol. And it would be nice to have some discussions over that. And the KBS thing that Thomas mentioned, I'm well in touch with them. So we already know like confidential containers and confidential computing consortium. I am also leading one of the projects, which is exactly about formal specification of that. And we would like some feedback from the group on that kind of how much moving towards the protocol work, and some feedback from the chairs on how much do the chairs see protocol work as being in scope for REDS.
So from Ned, unless Ned, do you want to speak or do you want me to?
Yeah.
let you-
Yeah, so the charter scope includes definition of protocols. However, it defers to existing protocols if they satisfy the use cases and requirements. So if there's something that's already there that's sufficient, we, tip our hat to that. But if there's a gap, then it's within our scope to fill the gap.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now David, sorry about that on the false start.
You took care of it, Kathleen. All I wanted to do was call attention to the SPDM reference in the chat as possibly related. Thank you.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I also have a comment. Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, I joined the queue. Yeah. So I just want to comment that there's another ongoing work at Lake Working Group that we define a draft that performs attestation over AThoc. So AThoc is a lightweight key exchange protocol, and we also define like the attestation proposal, attestation request, like how we can perform the attestation over AThoc protocol. And I see that one of your goals is to achieve a lightweight, and which is also one of the features of AThoc protocol. So I suggest you also have a look at that draft, and also this draft will be also presented on the Friday session at REST working group. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Would you mind sending that link to the chat or to the email list? And so SPDM is also a concise protocol.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of leads to go on now to compare. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Responding to Yuxuan as an author of the draft, I'm well aware of the draft. Actually, I'm also doing or discussing the formal verification of that draft. So the difference of that draft in the IoT case, so that is particularly for IoT, Yuxuan. And the thing that we are doing here is for the cloud use cases. So I don't see in any kind of overlap in that kind of sense, because it's the other end, like IoT devices that Yuxuan has in the Lake Working Group, versus the one that we are talking about is completely on the cloud side. So I see them both as orthogonal rather than having any overlap.
Thank you. Hank?
Yeah, hi, this is Hank. I'm sorry, Osama, but I think a thing is a thing, and they have overlap. So that's my first assumption, but that is something to be discussed. Okay, going from there. Another thing is that the rat's nest, so where actually are you doing rats in lake and doing rats at something can be very different layer. Are you remote attesting the trustworthiness of a stakeholder in key negotiation, or are you using on a higher layer the already established trustworthiness to do key negotiation? So that's really different. I think that's something we have to talk about, and I think it's the latter. So, so maybe it's still complementary, but due to other reasons.
All right, thank you. And it looks like the lake draft is active as well. So it's not a published RFC, so there's opportunities there. All right, is that it, Frank?
Yeah. That's
All right,
Thank
thank you. So next up, we have CoServe. Quickly, please. I think we've lost our extra padding of time just about.
Your Honor, so I may not be familiar with ongoing discussions, but key management is a skill, is an art of its own. When I read the RETS Charter, I don't read it as including key management. And if this working group is going into key management, I would suggest to change the charter to explicitly include it. And my personal opinion would be, no, this is not the best place for it.
Thank you. I think that's very useful comments to the group, and I don't disagree.
Good to go.
Yes, please do. Ned has your slides up. Thank you, Ned.
Sure.
Thank you, Ned. If we can just stay on the title slide for a second. So hello, I'm Paul. I'm here to present the CoServe Internet draft and to join with Thomas Versatti and our other co-authors in making the recommendation that the RATS working group adopts this draft. So I'm not deep diving on CoServe today. CoServe was already presented at one of the RATS interim meetings earlier in the year. So my mission today really is to, I guess, page it back into our heads. So I'll provide a reminder of the problem statement, a reminder of what CoServe is, but I want to focus most of the time talking about the updates since the interim meeting, and also some significant updates on running code. If we could go to the next slide. Thank you, Ned. So the context is the conveyance of endorsements and reference values to the verifier, this section of the RATS architecture that's there in the central circle. It's a generic and idealized model, and as such, it hides some real-world challenges, and I've called these out around the outside. So fragmentation issues caused just by multiple vendors being in those conveyance pathways. This fragmentation is already evident today, and there is a risk that it could worsen. Then there is supply chain complexity. There could be multiple endorsers, levels of interaction between those things and the ultimate verifier or verifiers, wherever those live. And there's diversity among those verifiers, different kinds of verifiers running in different environments, from cloud services all the way down to constrained nodes, and different interaction models too, such as push or pull or continuous synchronization. And so the question is, what can we do as a working group to help the industry to implement these logical roles and conveyances in the real world? It is part of our charter as a working group to standardize interoperable data formats to securely declare and convey endorsements and reference values. And we are offering CoServe as a valuable primitive in that problem space. We could head to the next slide, please, Ned. Thank you. So CoServe stands for the concise selector for endorsements and reference values. CoSurf builds itself on the foundations of what we already have, namely CBOR and CORIM. But it adds to this palette a query language, and it's a query language specifically for the RATS artifacts, namely trust anchors, reference values, and endorsed values. It's super targeted, I guess, at this problem space. And the CoSurf query response language is defined independently of the transport, so you can transact it over HTTP REST or CoAP, and because it's a query response language, it can support transactional pull interaction models, but has the potential also to support continuous synchronization models as well. It borrows from CORIM very heavily and takes every opportunity to reuse common parts of the data model. We're designing it also to facilitate interactions across these real-world or messy supply chains where there could be multiple parties contributing endorsements into integrated systems that then need to be attested. So we could have these levels of indirection. The diagram shown there is illustrative, an example of how that might look. It's not prescriptive. CoSurf is not at all prescriptive about what supply chains or deployments need to look like. It's just about trying to support them. So that's fundamentally what CoSurf is, right? A common query language for vendors to harmonize on, based on CBOR, based on CORIM, supporting flexible interactions and transports, and supporting real-world supply chain complexity. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so let me talk now then about the updates to the draft since the RATS interim and also about some planned future direction. First of all, we have two new co-authors of the draft, Henk and Shefali. We welcome their involvement and we eagerly continue to invite others to join in co-authorship as well. We've invested a lot in codifying the trust models in the draft, which aim at supporting the supply chain complexity and indirection that I talked about. There is explicit modeling of source artifacts and collected artifacts along with their signing authorities, and there is a corresponding description of the shallow and deep trust models and how signatures can be added and or preserved through these indirect supply chains. Now, we talked aspirationally about these things in the past, but the draft and the data model have now fully caught up with that thinking. The final significant change is in stateful environments, and this is through some of our examination of real-world endorsement services. We learned that endorsement can sometimes depend on aspects of a tester state. And so we added support for such state to be included in CoSurf queries. And again, this borrows the CORIM data model for stateful environments based on measurement maps. So those are the updates. So eyes forward then to the future. And the piece of work that I want to headline here really is around API bindings. The CoSurf draft, as it is today, is payload only. It's the semantics and the CBOR data model for the requests and responses. It's agnostic of transport and of API bindings, but we do want to go further because prescribed API endpoint behaviors are going to be necessary to facilitate standardized interactions. So we plan to add this to the draft. And it will take the form of a new top-level section on API bindings. It would have subsections for different transports or mechanisms. This would begin with the RESTful HTTP model because we already have an implementation of that, which I'll talk about. And it would likely go as far as including things like open API documents in appendices to promote and help with these compliant implementations. And other subsections could then be added, things like CoAP, PubSub, linking to some other relevant work that's happening in the core working group at the moment. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please, Ned? Thank you. So here's the update on running code, which builds on the foundations of the open source Verizon project. First of all of the CBOR data model from CoSurf that is now upstreamed in the mainline CoREM library, part of Verizon, implemented to the latest specs, which is fantastic. Those who know Verizon might be familiar with its use as a RATS verifier, but there is now a prototype CoServe branch of Verizon, the services repo, which allows Verizon to be deployed as an endorsement distributor rather than just a verifier. And it has this very simple transactional REST API, which shows how CoServe queries transact over HTTP. You just make your CBOR query, base64 encode it, and it becomes part of the URL path as shown there. The existing trust anchor and reference value stores can be queried using the existing Verizon plugins, but we also have a framework of so-called proxy plugins where Verizon can be used as a mediator or a broker to retrieve endorsements or reference values from a third-party service. We've been able to demonstrate this for both the NVIDIA RIM service and the AMD key distribution service. These two examples are valuable and informative, not least because they are real-world services for real products, but also because they tax the flexibility of the CoServe model. So one is an endorsement service, while the other is a reference value provider. For instance, one uses instance-based environments, while the other uses class-based. And the stateful environment feature is needed as well in the case of AMD. So these use cases really provide excellent proof points. We are able to show you can have a single API, you can have a single query format working across all of these technologies. And we presented this work at the hackathon here in Madrid this week, and I've linked to our hackathon report slides there that you would be welcome to go and take a look at. Which brings me to the next slide, please, Ned. So I come to the call for adoption. The case for adoption is threefold. I do contend that CoServe addresses a significant industry challenge. There's a real gap here, and it's one that I would assert falls within the scope of our charter. It's therefore worthy of our collective attention and energy. And alongside that, we can demonstrate running code for multiple real-world use cases. And on that basis, the co-authors of the draft commend it. So let me now call upon the chairs to do the needful to put this out for the floor. Thank you.
Before we go to a call for adoption, we're able to make comments at the mic.
Yes,
so
of
that's
course,
part of the
yes.
process.
Yes.
I put myself first in queue, and I think it might be helpful for at least some of the people in the working group to see how this work is connected. It's covering quite a bit of ground, right? And so seeing how it's connected to all the existing pieces of work and adopted materials. So, you know, I could see some of the connections very readily. And then pieces like my own posture assessment drafts, I think fits in there as well. But this is more of an ecosystem. You're covering quite a bit of ground. So I think that a picture would be really helpful in terms of the connections to the existing work. Do you have that?
I don't think when you say a picture, do you mean
like a diagram of the connection between the different
I
already adopted.
I haven't tried to draw such a picture. It's something I would be more than willing to attempt, but I don't have it to bring to the conversation today, I'm afraid.
So I think it would be really helpful because you're touching both format, space, all the way through to a protocol, right?
Sorry, say that again.
You're covering quite a bit of ground with
Sure.
this particular draft because it's formats all the way through to protocol. And
Yes,
just
I
seeing
see
those
what you mean, yes.
interconnections, I think, is really important.
Sure.
All right, Hank?
Yeah, hi, this is Hank. So we are not entirely sure how protocoly we already are. That is a dedicated decision. So we are creating the messages. So I understand that might be protocol. I know.
He called it an API.
No. There is also an example for an API how to use it. The core is the message, Paul. So that's the point. But also having said that, I think it's very important to have an understanding from the working group list. Do we get what this is? I think that's a good call. And when that is established, I think we can easily go to adoption.
Usama?
Yeah, I am just echoing what Hank and Kathleen just said. So it's not clear to me how it's related to the multi-verifiers draft, the posture assessment draft, and other drafts of RATs. I would like to see, as Kathleen proposed, like a picture of where exactly does this work fit? And secondly, how much of this work is proposed to be protocol? How much of this is going to be architecture? And how much of this can already be incorporated within the RATs architecture? My concern there being, you are introducing, as it seemed to me, I may be missing it, but as it seemed to me, you had, if you go back on one of the slides, you had this aggregator. Is that a new block that you are introducing in the RATs architecture?
No.
Right, and is the aggregator, I was wondering if it was the posture assessment that aggregates a set of things being checked that could be sent as one thing and aggregation, but just a different term. So I think the
Okay.
terminology, I had the same.
Yeah, right. So I would like this to be mapped to RATs, that what this, all of this thing is, and this be represented then in terms of RATs, that how is this like aggregator fitting it all together? What is this OEM, ODM? What are these workload developers and so on mapped to the RATs architecture, so we can better understand where exactly does this work lie, and then compare to the other RATs drafts like multi-verifiers, posture assessment, and so on.
Right, so there's no opposition, don't get, nervous or upset. We have Friday that we'll meet as well, but understanding this ecosystem, I think, is critical.
It's not a question, it's an answer to Usama. This is, in you, Kathleen, is purely on the endorsement and ref value side. So supply chain to verifier, that's it. That's the scope. Those are the conceptual messages that are attached by CoServe. There's nothing else.
Yes, I did try to set that scene on the very first slide in the deck. It is. Yes, the logical roles do not change. This is not changing RATs architecture. This is not introducing new roles. This is not introducing any new arcs between roles. RFC 9334 remains the architecture. This is adding additional components to the palette, additional tools in the box that would enable people to actually implement this architecture in the real world.
Okay, so the request still holds. I think that at least two of us want to see a map of the documents, and I'm sure there are more people too that would like to see that. You get locked into particular nomenclatures when you're working within a group, and you're all very comfortable with your exact language. And so seeing it in an ecosystem will help the rest of us who haven't been in your design meetings. Thank you. And we have 2 minutes to go. So I don't think we can do the queued up presentation at this time, right? So we only have 2 minutes. Is that right, Ned?
Yeah, we're not going to get to it. There's still people in the queue.
Okay, so why don't we, oh, there's still people in the queue? I'm sorry,
Andy.
Andrew or Andy. Andy,
We
are you
can't hear-
remote? Can you promote yourself?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the comment that CoServe is for the relationship between supply chain and verifier. And I thought CORIM was doing that, and there seems to be a certain amount of overlap between the documents. And I wonder whether there's benefit in having two overlapping documents, or if we need to find a way to make them not overlap. Or have I misunderstood its purpose?
No, I think you're absolutely right about the overlap, but I think the key difference with CoServe is that, well, to begin with, CoServe borrows very, very heavily from CORIM, right? I want to reassert that point. I already made it. Much of the data model is inherited, like from CORIM, almost as a superclass. But CORIM is an assertive format. It makes assertions about what is valid in an environment, and it's good for, I suppose, the push model, right? You can push CORIMs into something that is ingesting endorsement information. But what CoServe does is it adds to that palette the ability to query, the ability to pull, the ability to request what is valid, given a piece of evidence, for example, that I need to verify and appraise. CoRIM does not have that today. So CoServe is designed to fill that gap and also to support situations where endorsements are being consumed into sort of intermediate stages where they might need to be gathered together and then published to a final sort of verifying endpoint. So it's a query language along with some support for these indirect trust models.
I think if CoServe were to be a mechanism to pull CORIMs from a supply chain entity, then I would certainly support it. I will read the document and come up with more considered comments later.
Okay, great. So I think for this, there's just a couple of action items, and we can always, we can try to revisit, either call for adoption here on Friday or on the list, once the other pieces are known. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you Friday.
All right. I guess we're out of time.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ned.
Thank you. See everybody Friday, and it's a packed agenda on Friday. Please get your presentations submitted to all the folks who are presenting. We're missing quite a few.
Thank you, Osama. I'm glad you understood my request and echoed it. Thank you. Yeah, what time do we meet? Afternoon? That's fine. It just gives people less time. So the more time you have to post it, then the more time other people have to review your work.